Princess Ael'Sethra, I choose you. Nobody told me what you'd done.
The galaxy mocked the human assigned to the Barren Princess. Then she came back changed. Chapter 1. The assignment nobody wanted. The notice board on Deck 9 of the Concord diplomatic vessel wandering Accord had exactly one new posting that morning, and every non-human officer within reading distance found a reason to walk past it and laugh. Resignment. Liaison Officer, House Thallun, Barren Line. Candidate, Ensign Marcus Iyer, Terran Auxiliary Corps, the Thallun Princess Ael'Sethra, had been called barren by the galaxy's press for 6 standard years. Not because of any fertility issue, but because her homeworld, a scorched husk called Thallun Prime, had been stripped of its atmosphere in the Cinder Wars. No allies, no resources, no strategic value. A princess with a crown and nothing to rule but ash. Assigning a liaison to her wasn't diplomacy. It was a punishment posting, and everyone on the Wandering Accord knew it. "They're sending the human," said a Qatari trade officer, mandibles clicking in amusement. Fitting. Send the species everyone underestimates to the world everyone's given up on. Marcus heard it. He didn't say anything. He'd heard worse in basic training. He packed one bag, requisitioned a single shuttle, and left before anyone could organize a proper send-off, which, judging by the tone in the corridor, would have been more roast than farewell. Chapter 2. Ash and silence. Thallun Prime looked exactly like its reputation. Marcus's shuttle broke atmosphere, what little remained, over a landscape of black glass and dead rivers. The capital, once a marvel of crystalline architecture, stood half-melted, its towers bent like candles left too close to a flame. Princess Ael'Sethra met him personally, which surprised him. Most royals sent stewards for a nobody liaison. She was tall, pale-scaled, with eyes the color of old copper, and she looked at him the way someone looks at a bill they already know they can't pay. "You're the human," she said. It wasn't a question. Ensign Marcus Iyer. "Reporting for liaison duty, Your Highness. Do you know why the Concord sent you? Because nobody else wanted the job." She almost smiled at that. Almost. "At least you're honest. Come. I'll show you what's left of my kingdom, and then you can send your report and go home." He didn't go home, Chapter 3. What the data didn't show. For 3 months, Marcus did what liaisons do. Filed reports, attended court, listened, but he also did something the Concord manual never mentioned. He walked the ash fields with a geological scanner strapped to his back, because back on Earth, humans had a stubborn habit of not trusting a planet's obituary until they'd read the body themselves. What he found wasn't in any survey. Beneath 40 meters of vitrified crust, Thallun Prime's mantle was still geothermally active. Wildly so. The barren world wasn't dead. It was a furnace with a lid on it, sitting on enough raw energy potential to power a dozen star systems, if anyone had bothered to dig deeper than the scorched surface and a galaxy's worth of assumptions. He didn't tell the princess right away. He'd learned, growing up on a planet that had survived its own share of predictions of doom, that hope handed out too early is just another kind of cruelty. He spent 6 more weeks confirming it, quietly, alone, while the court around him kept calling her the Barren Princess, and Marcus kept his mouth shut and his scanner running. Chapter 4. The report that shook the Concord. When Marcus finally filed his findings with the Concord Assembly, he did it through official channels, with full data, full citations, and 0 editorializing, because he wanted the numbers to do the talking, not his species' reputation for stubbornness. The Assembly didn't believe it at first. A geothermal reserve of that magnitude, missed by 3 prior surveys? Impossible. They sent an independent verification team. Qatari engineers. The same species that had laughed at the notice board months earlier, the engineers came back pale-mandibled and silent. The data was real. Thallun Prime wasn't a dead world. It was a sleeping giant, and the house that owned it wasn't bankrupt. It was sitting on a fortune nobody had thought to look for, Because nobody had thought the Barren Princess was worth a second glance. Chapter 5. The princess who came back changed. The transformation didn't happen overnight. And it didn't happen because of Marcus alone. He made sure everyone knew that. Ael'Sethra spent the next year rebuilding, negotiating extraction rights on her own terms, refusing 3 separate aid packages that were really just corporations trying to buy her furnace cheap. She learned contract law. She learned to read a boardroom the way she'd once read a battlefield. The girl who'd inherited Ash learned to turn it into leverage. When she returned to the Concord assembly, for the first time since her Baron designation, she didn't walk in as a supplicant. She walked in as the sovereign of the single richest untapped energy reserve in the sector, with a human liaison one step behind her, who'd never once asked for credit. The same Qatari trade officer who'd laughed at the notice board 6 standard years earlier stood to greet her at the door, bowing, this time without a trace of a click in his mandibles. "Your Highness," he said. "Welcome back. It's sovereign now," Ael'Sethra corrected, calm as still water. "And I believe you owe my liaison an apology. He's the reason any of us are standing here." Chapter 6. What the Galaxy Learned. The Concord Press ran a dozen headlines that week, and every one of them dropped the word barren. What they wrote instead was simpler and truer. Humans don't take a planet's word for it. They dig. Marcus never asked for a medal. He filed his next report the same way he'd filed the first, plainly, without embellishment, and requisitioned a shuttle to whatever unglamorous posting came next, because that was the job. But on Thallun Prime, in the new capital rising where the melted towers used to stand, there's a plaque by the central plaza that reads, in Concord Standard and in the old Thallun script beneath it. They called her Baron because they never looked twice. He looked twice. The galaxy had learned to underestimate a lot of things about humans. This was just the latest lesson, and it wouldn't be the last.